紧的一小猫咪怎么办？太小了。我知道。哎，再吃。先拿针子来。好，让它歇会儿，让它歇会儿。好才有奶人儿，必须抱到起，使劲疼。如果要是他妈的奶的话，像他那么弄，肯定他妈都不想要他。
Street lamp flickers on wet stone. You curl beneath a broken phone. One paw lifted, barely there. Two ribs showing through your hair. 3 steps closer through the pour. 4 walls waiting by the door. The thunder hushes as I kneel. Now your heart beats next to mine. Every tremble turns to time. No more wandering alone. You are seen, you're not alone. 5 times